Public transportation can be very convenient in Italy. So I want to cover some of the main methods that I think you'll use to get around, and particular focus on train and bus, so you have an overview of how these work. The first thing you should know are the system of frecce or arrow trains. Same thing as a bullet train, same concept. The Freccia Rossa is the fastest one. It travels up to 300 kilometers per hour. That's 180 miles per hour. And they hit the major cities without a lot of stops in between. So, you might go from Milan to Rome in just a couple hours. These trains are nice. They're rather pricey, and they have some amenities like Wi-Fi or having a bar or a cafe on board. They require a reservation, and you want to make sure you make a reservation pretty well in advance. The other thing that is important to look at is this map where we can see all the different cities where these frecce go. And we can see a couple websites that are important to point out. The first one is the Trenitalia website. This is Italy's official website to purchase train tickets. You might see a lot of imposter sites if you go out there and start Googling or looking for train tickets. So just be aware, the imposter sites might sell you a ticket, but they also might put in a fee, and they might have some other kind of restrictions or something. So make sure you go to the official site. The other official site is Italo Treno. This is a private company that uses the same tracks as Trenitalia, as the official tracks, but they just offer a little bit of a different service. But this one is also a legitimate site. And one other one important to know is Trenord, and this would be the site for northern Italy. And it's important to point out because there are a number of different regional trains in Italy. This one in particular, though, is relevant because if you are going to be in Milan, the Malpensa Express from the airport uses this particular website to purchase the tickets. So if we look at the Freccia, it's important that we see there's a couple of different ones. There's the Freccia Rossa, which is the red arrow train, the Freccia Argento, the silver arrow train, and the Freccia Bianca, which is the white arrow train. The difference here really is just the destinations. They go to different places. Some of them go a little faster than others, and they might have different levels of services. But all in all, these are pretty similar offerings. They all require reservations, and they all will be a bit on the more expensive side, and it's a nice way to travel. We can look here about making a reservation for the Freccia on the website. So if we go to the Trenitalia website, you can see you can do from and to, you can pick the date, and they'll give you a price, and it'll give you some options to choose from. If you do this too far in advance, though, they won't give you all the options. So make sure you're doing it in a few weeks or a few months at the most. And if you don't see it, you're just too far away from the time frame. Now, strikes. Strikes are so common in Italy with the trains and public transportation that they actually list them on the website. A lot of people, including Italians, don't always think to look here. So make sure you look when you go to purchase your ticket or before your trip that there isn't a strike. In some cases, there are guaranteed trains that will go even during strikes. So important to look this out, and you can find all this right on the Trenitalia website. So now that we've understood how to take at least one of the fast trains, and that's the Freccia trains, let's take a look at a platform, and then we'll talk about a couple other categories of trains. So we see a few things. Starting at the top left here, we see partenza, departure. 13:18, that's when that train is scheduled to leave, and that's at 1:18, so make sure you know the 24-hour clock. On the right side, that ES9814, that is the number of the train. No information below that we need to look at. Then let's go next at Partenze, the little square on the right. We can see a few things on there. One says Treno, that's the train number. The next one says Destinazione, that's where that train is going. The next is Orario, that's the scheduled time of departure. The next is RIT for ritardo, meaning is it late? None of these are late, thank goodness. Then we have BIN, that's for binario, that's for the platform. And there's a few things next to binario, like on 3 it says ovest, that means west. And then the other 3 next down says est, that's for east. So different directional platforms. So this must be a pretty big station here. And then the number 4 down in the middle of the screen, that just shows you which coach is supposed to stop there. So if you're getting on a certain seat, you could use that as far as knowing where to wait to get on your particular coach. Here's a schedule that I wanted to point out. Now, this is a printed schedule, and these old school kind of printed schedules, even though they have electric boards, you still see them in many train stations on the walls. And I think they're great because we talked about the freccie train, right? The fast trains that stop in just a few cities. Well, the intercity train, you can see an IC here, right next to the 8 o'clock in green, is an intercity train. So they're a bit faster than the slowest train, but they're slower than intercities. And they stop at all these different places. But if you're waiting at the platform, all you're going to see is the final destination, which in this case is Lecce. And you see it gets there at 16:48 or 4:48 in the afternoon. But let's say you want to go somewhere in between. Say you want to go to Bari Centrale. So you want to get there, but you don't see it. You don't know where to wait. Well, you can see on this schedule that the train from Lecce stops at Bari Centrale at 1500 or 3 o'clock. So very useful. You also see something on the right-hand side. There's a number 7 under BIN. That's the track where the train typically arrives at or leaves from. That's also very good to know because sometimes on that electronic board, they may not put it up there because they're not sure yet. But if you wait at the platform where it's supposed to leave from, chances are it may stop there anyway. So while you're waiting for it to be announced, you can wait at that platform and you may be right. Okay. Well, next, let's talk about where you can buy these tickets. I mentioned that you could go on the computer if you wanted to and go to a website to buy the fast tickets for the freccie train or even for the intercity train. Another way to do it is an app, and I'll show you that app in my next one. Or you could do two other ways. One, you can see a ticket counter here. So if you are unsure what to do and you're nervous about it, you could go to the ticket counter and you could ask the personnel there. The challenge with this is they may have limited English skills. You never know. And also, there could be a very long line. But ticket counter is great if you're not sure. Then we have these ticket machines. They're pretty good for, I think, for the regional tickets, regionale. But they can be a bit confusing to use and they don't always work. And there can be people lingering around. So you're taking out your money and waiting there and trying to figure it out while you're, I don't love it. So the automatic ticket machines are not my favorite, but sometimes they can be convenient. All right. The next slide I want to show you is the app. So you can download the app from the App Store. The Trainitalia app is a great way to do it. That's how I buy my tickets for the freccie train, the fastest trains, and the intercity, which go to a lot of the medium-sized cities, but they don't. But they do have some stops in between. So that's a great place to get it. And then on the middle here, we have a Post-it note. And I kind of laughed because I went to a train station not too long ago and I asked, what would I do to go to Monza? And they wrote down the times on a Post-it note. And then I went and I got a regional ticket. And you can see how they make the ones and how the handwriting is a little bit different. So just note that if you do see Italian handwriting, it might be different than what you expect. All right, let's move on to the next picture here, which is this yellow box and someone's putting a ticket in here. Well, you have to validate tickets in certain cases. What does that mean? That means if you don't have a reservation like you would get with a freccia or an intercity, where reservations happen automatically, in this particular case, you're buying a regional ticket to go to some smaller town or little village to another one. And when you buy the ticket, it's not for a set time. You simply would buy a ticket to go from one village to the next, and the ticket could be used anytime. So because it's valid for any time, you have to put in the machine and indicate when it is that you're making that trip. And they'll stamp a time and a date onto that ticket. And then after that, it's valid for a certain period, a certain number of hours usually, after you put that ticket in the ticket machine and have it stamped. And if you don't have it stamped and you just have a plain ticket that doesn't have anything indicated on it, then you could conceivably use it again and again and again. So that's why they want to have it printed. And if you get controlled by the ticket control, they want to see that it's stamped. Okay. So we have these intercity trains, which are the faster trains that we see right here than the regional trains. And then we have the regional train, which is the slowest train, and they stop at every little village that exists along the train line. They're interesting though, because you can get to places where you might not typically go. And in the morning or in the afternoon, they service school buses sometimes. You might find them full of children going to school. It can be a fun thing to experience, or it could be complete chaos. They're not always as nice. So they might have windows that are broken. They may not be as clean. The bathrooms may not work. The air conditioning may not work. This can be common on these regional trains. Um, and if you're going from a long way, let's say from, I don't know, Milan to Naples, I wouldn't take a regional train. It might take you 12 hours and stop at 50 different places or more. So yeah, just could be an adventure, can be useful, but not always the best if you're going a long distance. Well, here's a woman checking tickets. So be aware that when you do ride the train, you're expected to have that ticket. You can get on without a ticket, but if you are checked, you will have a problem if you don't have the ticket. There are hefty fines, and I've seen a lot of people met by police after not having their tickets with them. So make sure if it's a paper ticket, you know where it is. If it's an electronic ticket, you have everything in order before you set off. All right, we're moving on to buses now because there are some places that trains don't go, and city buses, which this is, can be quite useful to get to different areas of neighborhoods and to use maybe in hours when the train schedule is inconvenient for you. So I want to run over a couple of things. One, this stops at Popolo Viadonte, so that's the stop we're looking at. And then below that, we see Festivo. Festivo means holidays. There's a special schedule for holidays, so be aware if you are waiting for a bus, you want to make sure if it's a holiday, and holidays include Sundays. Sunday is considered Festivo, that you're using that holiday schedule, or that the bus even runs on that holiday. Then we'll look at, let's go down to C40, the little black circle. You see the train starts at Como, and you see it stops at Lecco. So if you want to go somewhere in between, like Lipamo Statale, you would need to take this bus that goes to Lecco. All right, and then there's a couple icons on there. Next to Como, looks like there's an icon of a train. So that would mean the train station is there. Looks like there's an icon of a boat, and that would mean you can get a ferry boat there as well, which would make sense because Como is a very large lake. Let's move over to the next cutout square here. We see Rivendite in the middle of this square, and that is the reseller. So who sells these tickets? Well, you can buy them at Bar Duomo or Bar Moderno. So oftentimes when you buy these bus tickets or even a streetcar ticket, you would go to a bar to buy them. And typically the bars have a big T outside. That means they sell tobacco products also, or a newsstand. We still have newsstands in Italy, and the newsstands often sell these tickets for public transportation. Then we see next to the Rivendite Indirizzo, that's the address of where you could go to buy the ticket. And then we'll move over one more. It says Chiusura, that's when they're closed. They're closed Domenica, which is Sunday. All right, let's look at the yellow box. The yellow box simply says that the lines do not circulate on December 25th, January 1st, and May 1st. So there's no service on those days. And May 1st is Italian Labor Day. All right, here's a picture of a public bus. The entrance is called Entrata. You go in, there's a yellow box. You stick the ticket in the yellow box, it stamps it, and you're good to go. And you can ride that bus for a set number of hours, and that's indicated on the ticket. Then the bus driver will want to see that you stamp it. If you don't put it in that machine, they may ask you to see a pass, because sometimes you can buy weekly or monthly or yearly bus passes or transportation passes. Then the next door is Uscita, which is the exit. Make sure you use the right entrance and exit. Otherwise, you'll be fighting against people, and also the bus driver won't see that you validated your ticket. Okay, here we see a streetcar, beautiful picture of a tram or streetcar in Milan. They function more or less the same as the buses do in terms of the tickets. Sometimes, though, in some of these bigger cities, you can buy bus tickets and metro tickets and tram tickets and all this stuff. You can buy those on an app or official websites or so on. So that's typically places like Milan, Florence, Rome. So you can look those up in whatever city you're visiting, and it may be more convenient for you. But that's it for these tips on train, bus, and I guess streetcar travel as well. Only thing I'll have to say is buon viaggio. Enjoy your trip.